China, it's truly a vast and fascinating country. 9,600,000 square kilometers of land, 3 million square kilometers of seas. And it's never still, changing with the rotation of the seasons. To fly like a bird is to see things that are beyond your imagination. You visit places you would never before have dreamed of. And even familiar places, when you look down on them from on high, will assume a completely different appearance. We'll take you to explore places close at hand and far away. To witness nature and geography, humanity and history. Join us as we embark on a unique journey across the sky. This is Hainan, China's southernmost province. Hainan is an island with a contiguous sea area equivalent to 1/4 of the whole country's land area. Here in the South China Sea also lie the Nangang Islands, which mark China's southernmost point. To the north, the Qiongzhou Strait separates Hainan from the mainland. It's there that our journey will start. First, we'll explore how volcanic activity forms the island, and then we'll fly to a city bursting with life. Along Hainan's northern coastline, we'll come across 3 lighthouses, each with its own distinctive appearance. The Qiongzhou Strait is 30 kilometers across. In prehistoric times, Hainan was part of the Chinese mainland. Around 60 million years ago, some lower-lying land was submerged, creating what we know today as the Qiongzhou Strait. Later, a series of land collapses and volcanic eruptions caused Hainan Island to expand northward. Evidence of this ancient volcanic activity can still be found in northern parts of Hainan. In an area covering just 100 square kilometers, there are more than 40 volcanoes. Ma Anling is the largest of these volcanoes. Ma Anling comprises 2 relatively large craters and 2 smaller ones. Popularly, it's known as the volcano family. Ma Anling is part of the Haikou Volcanic Cluster Global Geopark. Today, the volcano is covered with greenery. From the foot to the summit is a pleasant 70-meter walk. Ma Anling last erupted around 13,000 years ago. However, it's not classified as extinct, but dormant, so it's possible that one day it may become active again. It takes 50 minutes to travel by ferry between the mainland and Hainan across the Qiongzhou Strait. This ferry is transporting vehicles and passengers. There's even a train in the hold. Before the crossing, the train was divided into sections so that it could be secured. In port, a railway line extends to the ferry. The carriages are moved onto it and coupled together again. The now complete train's first stop on Hainan Island is the city of Haikou. Haikou is the closest city on Hainan to the mainland. 90% of goods entering and leaving the island pass through its port. The Nandu, the island's longest freshwater river, empties into the sea here, a fact that gave rise to the city's name. Haikou has the meaning emptying into the sea. This is Qilou Street. The ground floors of the buildings lining it are occupied by shops. Above are apartments. The street gets its name from the protruding structures. Qilou means street overhung by buildings. This style of architecture originated in Southeast Asia. Hainan people have never considered the sea to be a barrier. On the contrary, they view it as a pathway to the outside world. For several centuries, there's been a flourishing trade between Hainan and Southeast Asia. People here brought back new commodities such as coffee, as well as the new styles of architecture. They even introduced the use of cement in house building. These days, the most popular sea routes are used by people from the mainland coming to Hainan. In 1988, Hainan was established as China's largest special economic zone. In no time, people in their tens of thousands began crossing the strait to Haikou. Attracted by the commercial potential offered by Hainan's new status, they set up businesses on the island. By doing so, they were following an historical precedent in China where people have traditionally moved to other parts of the country in times of economic difficulties. The power of the sea should never be underestimated. Hainan's northern coastline is its most dangerous. Here, to ensure that sailors reach the island safely, more than 20 lighthouses have been built. This is Hainan's oldest lighthouse. With its distinctive red and blue stripes, it's been a feature of Lingao Cape for over 120 years. In that time, it's been witness to history. It was built in 1894 by the French to support them in their attempt to seize control of the Dongzhai Strait. 50 years later, Hainan was liberated from nationalist control by the People's Liberation Army after soldiers landed here at Lingao Cape. Despite fierce fighting, the lighthouse remained intact. Mulantou Lighthouse overlooks a particularly dangerous stretch of water. Over the years, the speed of the current here has caused difficulties for numerous ships. The name Mulantou literally means ship's wood, a reference to the driftwood from shipwrecks. Over the years, superstitious people have tried to alter the way the name Mulantou is written in the hope of preventing more accidents at sea here. However, the most effective protection is provided by this 74-metre-high lighthouse, the tallest in Asia.
CGTN shows you more, providing a fresh global voice you can trust.
And a different look at the world you won't find anywhere else.
We offer unparalleled coverage of Asia, Africa, and Latin America.
We present diverse perspectives on news and newsmakers from around the world.
We want to engage our viewers with stories that represent the complete picture.
We want to share with you ideas that matter to us all.
The stories, the people, the issues.
A new and balanced perspective.
CGTN, see the difference.
China, it's truly a vast and fascinating country. 9,600,000 square kilometers of land, 3 million square kilometers of seas. And it's never still, changing with the rotation of the seasons. To fly like a bird is to see things that are beyond your imagination. You visit places you would never before have dreamed of. And even familiar places, when you look down on them from on high, will assume a completely different appearance. We'll take you to explore places close at hand and far away. To witness nature and geography, humanity and history. Join us as we embark on a unique journey across the sky. Much of Hainan is forested. It's true to say that coconut palms have a certain exotic appeal. But it's the plain-looking mangroves that have the far more vital role to play. Here, at ebb tide, the shore is claimed by crabs and ducks. This 15-kilometre stretch of forest in eastern Hainan is made up of more than 2 million coconut palms. Hainan is so closely associated with palm trees and coconuts that many people believe they've always grown here. Legend has it that the ancestry of all these trees can be traced back to a single coconut brought back from the Malay Peninsula. The reality is probably not so different. Several thousand years ago, some mature coconuts found their way into the sea and began to drift along with the ocean currents. As coconuts die within 2 months of leaving the tree, if they were to survive, they needed to make landfall quickly. One of these coconuts arrived on Hainan Island. It's from this one coconut that all the island's vast palm forests are descended. As we move on from the coconut palms, the sea begins to dominate the land. And it's here that we find another forest, this one in water. This forest consists of a variety of plants belonging to the species Rhizophoracea. Despite their green colour, they're known as red trees. These trees are rich in tannic acid. They turn red when they become dry or their surface is punctured. Forests thriving in seawater are an amazing sight. In order to survive, the trees have developed a unique desalination system. They produce fresh water in their roots by expelling the salt. The mangrove forests form a line of defence along the coast. For the farmland and villages behind them, they provide vital protection against tropical storms. The mangrove forests are supported by their animal inhabitants. At ebb tide, ducks flock to the shoals to feed on these small fish and shrimps. Locally, they're known as ducks from across the sea. Wherever there's something to eat, creatures are never alone. The Mycteris brevidactylus also come looking for food at ebb tide. Each of these crabs weighs just 2 grams on average. Being so small, they're able to move very rapidly. They're usually seen in groups. This makes them appear more intimidating, so that predators will be scared away. The sea rises and falls, and as it does, it provides people with natural produce. At ebb tide, various fresh aquatic delicacies are presented for collection. The farther the sea withdraws, the more ground it leaves for people to collect its produce. Fishermen who are familiar with the local area can find shellfish a little distance from the shore. Fishermen live off the sea in the same way that farmers live off their land. From ancient fishing villages to holiday resorts, the landscape here is constantly changing, and so are the people's lives. Next, we'll travel the short distance to the Nangang Peninsula, and we'll greet the fishermen there. Then we'll fly to one of China's top tourist attractions to witness the variety of fascinating ways in which the sea can provide entertainment. This is Boao town, originally a small fishing village. The name Boao means many fat fish. In 2002, statesmen, businesspeople and various experts from all around Asia gathered here in Boao for the first Forum for Asia. The event was so successful that the town was designated the forum's permanent home. Since that first forum, ordinary fishing villages have become modern cities almost overnight. Such rapid change has also been seen in other parts of Hainan. First, we'll get an idea of what this island used to look like. Most of Hainan now caters to tourists, but fishing villages like this used to be a common sight. For generations, ethnic Dongjiao people have been living on the coast in the town of Xintun. Traditionally, their boats are also their homes. Locally, these wooden craft are known as fish breeding rafts. These days, the Dongjiao make a living from both fishing and breeding aquatic produce in the nets underneath their boats. They live in wooden cabins on their rafts. Floating villages are formed where several of these dwellings come together. Here, the work is done in the traditional way. Some of the Dongjiao have now moved off their boats. They've opted instead for beach houses, but they still work on the sea. A nearby peninsula is home to some very different inhabitants. On Nangang Peninsula, there live around 1,000 rhesus monkeys. The monkeys are divided into 24 communities. If one community attempts to cross the territory of another, a fight is likely to break out. Nanwang's rhesus monkeys are small, weighing less than 10 kilos. But here, being small helps you escape from the excessive heat of the sun. It's noon, and the monkeys are staying cool in the water. The Monkey King remains on the shore to keep a lookout. By not entering the water himself, perhaps he's also thinking that if he were wet, he wouldn't look so dignified. An essential principle of survival in nature is to adapt to your environment. The Eld's deer demonstrate how this can be done. These deer have particularly well-developed senses of sight and hearing. They're also extremely fast and agile, with the ability to reach great heights when they jump. In flight, they can leap over bushes more than a meter high without breaking their stride.
There is no more they, or you, or me. In today's economic landscape, there is only we. An interconnected world of business, trade, and investment. Daily coverage told simply, with insight and new perspectives. Global business. We've got the world covered.
A land full of natural resources and ingenuity, where millions are embracing a vibrant middle class, divided by politics, but united by hope. Latin America is changing rapidly. Witness the change on America's Now.
China, it's truly a vast and fascinating country. 9,600,000 square kilometers of land, 3 million square kilometers of seas. And it's never still, changing with the rotation of the seasons. To fly like a bird is to see things that are beyond your imagination. You visit places you would never before have dreamed of. And even familiar places, when you look down on them from on high, will assume a completely different appearance. We'll take you to explore places close at hand and far away. To witness nature and geography, humanity and history. Join us as we embark on a unique journey across the sky. Flying southward, we approached the small tropical island called Wuzhizhou. Many of the visitors here come for the diving. The surrounding sea is remarkably clear, so it's possible to see to a depth of 20 meters. After some basic training, beginners can dive down 10 meters or more, where they can appreciate the wonders the undersea world has to offer. At sea, the wind can change direction every 20 to 30 meters. Some yachtsmen prefer to sail close to the shore where the winds are generally less unpredictable. Others choose to sail further out to sea to avoid the high waves. People have found numerous ways to derive entertainment from the sea. It seems there's no limit to the ways you can enjoy yourself. The sea gives people a sense of freedom. And this freedom encourages the pursuit of speed. Some aircraft bound for Sanya circle around the city before landing so that the passengers can view the statue of the Guanyin of the South Sea. It's the biggest statue of the goddess in the world. The planes then land at Phoenix International Airport, 23 kilometers east of the statue. Historically, Sanya was referred to as the end of the earth. Disgraced officials and prisoners were sent into exile to this remote and, at the time, impoverished place. These days, by contrast, the city is booming, thanks in part to tourism. Sanya offers a taste of romance in an exotic location. Sanya is now one of China's leading tourist destinations. Seen from the air, it's revealed as a place where the pace of life is simultaneously fast and slow. In an era of rapid development nationally, Sanya is experiencing particularly dramatic change. People here know they must move fast if they're to seize the opportunities on offer. In the same city, however, one group of people is leading life at a much more leisurely pace. They've come from far away to enjoy the peace and quiet. These two contrasting aspects of Sanya make it a city of two tales. From the modern city, we move to the central mountains, where we'll find that Hainan has much more to offer than its stunning blue sky and sea. We'll seek out the province's first pioneers and take part in a summer festival on the Nandu River. We'll then move on to the eastern part of the island to witness the nourishing power of the Wanquan River. Central Hainan is dominated by vast mountains which cover a quarter of the province's entire land area. Up ahead lies a huge expanse of mountain forest. But these are secondary forests. This is Mount Jianfeng, where the forests are untouched. Here you can find one of China's few virgin tropical rainforests. It's a dangerous area that's long kept explorers at bay. Even in the past 100 years, very few people have made their way into these central mountains. But isolation is not necessarily a bad thing. It makes it possible for nature to progress at her own pace. Deep in the forests live the descendants of Hainan's first pioneers. It was several thousand years ago that the Li people arrived on Hainan. It's said that after landing, they turned their boats upside down to serve as their houses. While the story is probably the product of someone's imagination, such boathouses are actually a very practical idea. Still, today, the Li craft their houses to suit the environment. The roof is designed to protrude as far as possible. This keeps out both sunshine and rain. The Li people are skilled at gathering betel nuts. There's a saying, Li men climb trees as fast as monkeys. And the trees in question are betel nut trees. A mature betel nut tree grows to a height between 10 and 30 meters. Harvesting the nuts involves considerable effort, suggesting that people here must be very fond of them. In the past, the Li people made a living by gathering fruit and hunting. But over the years, these hunter-gatherers turned to farming. The Yahoo terraces are evidence of this change in their way of life. The hot and humid climate makes it possible to grow 3 crops of rice a year. The first crop is ready to harvest around the time of the Dragon Boat Festival. The Dragon Boat races are Hainan Island's most important river festival. In Chengmai County, the Dragon Boat races are mostly local fishermen, yet they'll be competing against professional athletes. Dragon boat racing, though a wonderful spectacle, is not a performance. It's a contest in which the fastest boats move at speeds of 4 meters a second. It's vital for the oarsmen to work in unison. Only when the oars on both sides are moving simultaneously can the boat advance straight ahead at high speed.
The world's currencies are more connected than ever before. The mechanisms that drive the economy are universal. Money moves markets. We explain these trends and show you how the cash in your pocket can have a wide-reaching effect. Because money makes the world go round. Global business.
From emerging powers to expanding partnerships, from fighting poverty to combating climate change, booming economies, war-ravaged nations, and everything in between. We capture the changes affecting the most dynamic and diverse continent on the planet, taking you beyond the headlines to the people and their stories. Asia Today, delivering Asia to the world.
China, it's truly a vast and fascinating country. 9,600,000 square kilometers of land, 3 million square kilometers of seas. And it's never still, changing with the rotation of the seasons. To fly like a bird is to see things that are beyond your imagination. You visit places you would never before have dreamed of. And even familiar places, when you look down on them from on high, will assume a completely different appearance. We'll take you to explore places close at hand and far away. To witness nature and geography, humanity and history. Join us as we embark on a unique journey across the sky. China has more than 7,000 islands, but fewer than 500 of them are habitable. Most are unsuitable for life because they lack fresh water. Hainan is lucky to have an abundance of freshwater sources, thanks to the 4 major rivers that traverse the island. The Wanquan River nourishes the fertile land in eastern Hainan, where most of the island's grain is grown. However, heaven is not always kind to this place. 2 or 3 times a year, the eastern side of the island is hit by typhoons. Even so, the Wanquan River ensures that this is Hainan's second most densely populated region. In achieving progress, the islanders have had to overcome one challenge after another. To secure sufficient food, salt pans were established. To accelerate economic development, high-speed trains were introduced. And to explore the universe, rockets were launched. Key technologies, ancient and modern, have been developed right here on this island. The story goes that 1,200 years ago, people in Danzhou noticed that the stones on the shore were covered in natural grooves. At ebb tide, the seawater retained in the grooves evaporated under the sun, leaving behind salt. The people moved more stones to the shore and carved additional grooves in them to collect more salt. This is how salt was first produced in Danzhou. Today's salt pans are much bigger than those that would have been seen here in ancient times. Now the seawater is channeled into pools, where the water partially evaporates to produce concentrated brine. To speed up the evaporation process, the brine is regularly stirred. After a week, all that is left is salt. Sunlight and high temperatures are crucial to salt production. Hainan's tropical climate also helps plants to thrive. On the mainland, it takes on average 8 to 10 years to cultivate a new crop variety, but on Hainan, the process takes just 3 to 5 years. Many of the agricultural products now common throughout China were first grown on Hainan. Here, nature's liking for speed has been adopted by the people. This is the first high-speed railway in the world to trace the coastline of an entire island. The center of Hainan is higher than the surrounding areas. Most people live on the plains close to the island's edge. Hainan has established a variety of transport systems. They connect the island's scattered cities, towns and villages, reaching around 90% of the population. We'll head next to Wenchang, following the route of the high-speed railway. Wenchang is home to China's satellite launch site that is closest to the equator. This location makes it ideal for facilitating rockets' entry into orbit. This is the General Assembly Plant at the core of the launch center. Ahead of a launch, the rocket is moved to the launch tower. Here it's surrounded by towers that act as lightning rods. Beneath the launch tower is a 20-meter deep trench for diverting the heat produced when the rocket ignites. In 2016, more than 20,000 people were on hand here to witness the launch of the Long March 7 rocket. This is the spacecraft that's most familiar to the Chinese public. This year, the Chang'e 5 lunar probe is expected to be launched from Wenchang. Now we'll fly back to the South China Sea. Just off Dazhou Island, we'll find one of the world's oldest sunken ships. Following the fishermen of Tianmen Town, we'll view the South China Sea from the air. And at the end of our trip, we'll discover a rare natural wonder. This is Dazhou Island. Its two sides present two highly contrasting scenes. One side has powerful rolling waves. On the other, the sea is almost completely calm. Hainan Island was an important supply station on the ancient maritime Silk Road. Along its coastline were many fine harbours like that on Dazhou Island. This ancient wreck off Dazhou Island is a fine example of the ships of its era. Although by no means the biggest of those that sank in the South China Sea, it's, like the others, was a pioneer in these waters. Chinese people first began to explore the islands of the South China Sea several thousand years ago. Dan Men's fishermen refer to the South China Sea as the Ancestral Sea. Their forefathers, when they sailed the sea in the Song dynasty, did so with the help of a compass. Based on generations of experience, Chinese seafarers worked out the best navigation routes. 600 years ago, the people of Tanmen already had an excellent map of the South China Sea. In fine weather, the fishermen take their sons to diving training centres. The fishermen of Tanmen have their own unique approach to their work. They dive down to the coral reefs to catch fish. It's said that the most skilled fishermen can reach depths of over 10 metres. When the boys have mastered the skills, it's time for them to go fishing with their fathers. The Sansha 1 is a supply ship. It plies the route between Hainan Island and Sansha 4 times a month. Where the colour of the water is darker, the ship has entered the deep sea. When the water is no longer so blue, the men on board know they're approaching the Shisha Islands. Following a 13-hour voyage, the Sansha 1 reaches its first stop, Yongxing Island. The Sansha City People's Government has its headquarters on Yongxing Island. The islands, reefs and waters around the Shisha, Zhongsha and Nansha Islands are under its administration. The main road on Yongxing Island is 300 metres long and it's lined with banks, supermarkets, hospitals and other amenities. The islands north of Yongxing don't appear to be linked, yet they're called Qilian, meaning 7 interconnected islets. And they are interconnected. Under the water, the 7 islets share a common vast coral reef base. The Shisha Islands are made up mainly of once-living coral. Tiny creatures produced calcium carbonate to form a protective shell. This was how the coral reefs we see today came into being. This is Zhaoshu, one of the Qilian Islands. It's covered by trees. The population is mostly fishermen from Tanmen. The infrastructure on Dazhou Island has been significantly improved in recent years. In 2009, the islanders set up their own residence committee. We're now leaving Qilian for the Yongle Islands. From the air, this looks like an eye in the sea. Locally, it's called the Blue Hole. The Blue Hole is a natural wonder formed billions of years ago. It was created when glaciers melted and seawater filled a karst cave. At more than 300 meters deep, it's the deepest natural feature like it anywhere in the world. Uncharted territory inevitably tempts people to explore it, but you have to wait for just the right moment to approach the Blue Hole. It's surrounded by islands and reefs, so it can only be entered by boat at high tide. Bathed in the mild sunshine, the sea has become calm and peaceful again. As we fly over this scene of tranquility, we seem to hear the gentle breath of the sea. And now, a fresh wind is on its way. A new era is approaching, and the sea is once again becoming a pathway between China and the outside world.